Welcome back guys, I'm Cringista, first year medical student studying at Queen Mary University in London this year. I make videos on productivity, balancing gym and help students on the medicine application process. I'm an advocate for theism and my main aim is to help people live a happy and healthy life, and I'm hoping I can bring you on the journey with me. Let's start the video. Welcome back guys, and if you're new to the channel, which you probably are, 1.8k subs, slowly growing. It's Cringista, first year medical student studying at Bmat. So basically last year I took the Bmat, actually before that, I hope everyone's well, I hope everyone's doing fantastic. The only two Bmat unis I actually applied for, and I got into the UCL and Imperial interview. Basically my tips do work, they do work. And if you're asking who am I to be giving tips, I'm the owner of Medshark, and basically this summer I ran a Ucat course with over 600 students. Feedback was absolutely whopping. Many of my students scored way over 700, they absolutely killed it. Some of my highest students 785, banger. And the other one, absolutely shocking, Poppy Calder, I'll give you a quick shout out. Amazing, 860 average, highest that I'm probably ever gonna get. That's amazing, man, I'm not even gonna lie, 860, imagine. That's crazy, that's crazy. And one more thing before I kick into critical thinking and the algebraic manipulation, is that the money making course that's coming out in December is nearly packed. It's nearly packed. So there's a couple of spaces left, especially as the channel grows, hopefully it does, it's gonna get packed out ASAP. The next one I release probably next year is gonna get packed out like crazy. So right now you got a chance to be watching this. And apart from that, let's actually get into the video. Basically, I'm adding some flavor to the screen so that you don't necessarily click off. But essentially, what I'm gonna say, this is a little bit of a sneaky one. I haven't heard anyone speak about this, so I might be the first one. You might find another guy make a video and copy this idea. Is that you bring a rubber into this exam. This is obviously not rubber, but one thing you can do, and I'll show you right now, if it does show you a shape, like a six-sided shape, and it shows you the net of it, you begin to draw on the shape or whatever. I'm not sure if you're able to see that. Can you see that? Does it focus? Okay. Yeah. So that's an N, and if it had an O here and a P there and it was rotated, you'd be able to find out which face would not be correct. And basically you probably tell what we've done in the exam. Me and my friends, we took out our rubbers, we started drawing, we started doing these ones. But essentially, I think I probably did get them right. One other tip that I'm actually going to give is that guessing is normal. If you don't know a question, guess a standard answer. Now, I mentioned this in the Ucat ebook, and some people messaged me saying that why not B, why not D? I just say C. Go for C on questions you don't know. Reason being, let's just say it's a extreme value. Leave that out, go for another answer. It could be the case that out of the 5 questions, one of them is C. So you get 1 mark, rather than you try go for B, A, C, D, E, F, G. Do you understand? Now the first thing I'm going to say is go check out the timestamps in the bottom of the video. Reason being is you might want to get to a certain part of the video rather than watching all of it. Now there's a lot of crossover when it comes to section 1. It's basically Ucat 2.0. The crossovers in like decision making and certain aspects of VR. Lots of the skills are basically transferable. So if you do well in your Ucat, expect to do well in section 1. Presuming that you actually fulfill the checklist that I'm about to tell you, you should be calm. Now typically the Bmat is taken in 2 sittings, one in like end of August, one in October, but obviously coronavirus, it's not going to be possible. So there's going to be 1 sitting, and I think that's going to be near the end of October. I haven't checked, but usually that's where it is. Typically Oxford and Cambridge want it at different sittings, so pay attention to this if it's not 2020. If it's 2021, hopefully things get better. One other thing to really motivate you to do well in the Bmat is if you watch this video, and I know it just seems like I'm plugging the video, but this does go through the average scores of like the UCL applicants and those who went into interview, so that you'll be able to reference your score, look at it and use it as a source of encouragement, not necessarily to beat you down. Wait, that's just to wake you up. Now for an overview for critical thinking. Now the first question I'm actually going to answer is, what do you need to study for the Bmat? Do you need to pay for any £2,000 course? You don't need to pay for anything, but you can get my ebook as well. So the first website I'm going to mention is the official Bmat website, the official Cambridge Oxford one. I don't know exactly which one it is. You should see it on the screen now. But ensure that you begin going through the earliest ones from like 2004 and slowly starting to move up. You might be saying there's no mark scheme, there's nothing to explain it to me. And now this is where the massive importance of friendship actually does come in. If you know a person who's taking the Bmat, the papers are the same. It's not necessarily the same as the Ucat, which changes questions per person. The good thing about this is that your friend and you will be able to take them mock and then review it together, so that if you don't understand anything, he will explain it to you, and if he doesn't understand, you explain it to him. So this will build friendship, and hopefully it should be an enjoyable journey. It's not like the Ucat. Trust me, this is so much better. You're having so much fun. Depends what your definition of fun is. Now, if you finish all section 1s, there are TSA papers that are available. Basically the same thing, basically by the same body, different questions, and it gives you a greater exposure to questions. And if you know my AR advice, exposure, exposure, exposure. And that's the best way to bang an exam. And if you're saying you don't have any friends that are applying to medicine using the Bmat, you can use a book which you basically write the score that you got and then log it yourself and save yourself like 40 quid, especially if a lot of people are not working, which are the vast majority of those that are watching my video. I mentioned next is going to be about the biggest flaws in a passage, and this is what I actually enjoy. I mentioned this in the Ucat ebook. Some people message me and be like, why do I need to know this? You're going to find out right now. It also just helps you out. There are certain fallacies that are probably very, very common when it comes to the Bmat, and basically I'm going to go through them right now. The first one is a straw man argument, and essentially it's where you just exaggerate facts beyond belief. Example there is that they start talking about Brexit, and then you start talking about Iraq war, saying how the British economy and the government is actually corrupt. Yeah, they might be, but it doesn't necessarily mean that a Brexit is a bad idea. I don't want guys to message at the bottom, oh, you racist. I'm not. I'm a European, do you understand? Another fallacy that's exploited in the questions is the slippery slope fallacy, whereby essentially if one thing that you could talk about is like legalization of a Class C drug. People may argue that it will lead to legalization of Class B, Class A, and so on and so forth. But the assumption is that one leads to another, and that's exploited beyond belief. So make sure you know that one. Conflation is where you mix up two arguments together and is not as common as people make it out to be. So again, make sure you just understand that. Now, a circular argument, as seen on here, I'm not voting for them because they can't win. By you not voting, you're causing them not to win. And that sort of philosophy is, or reasoning, is a circular reasoning. Restricting options as a fallacy, basically me explaining this is that how many days in a week, yes or no? And they try to say, well, you can't answer, yeah, and I'm like, yes or no? You can't really answer that question, do you understand? Another is causation, correlation. To know when the passage is trying to force you to assume causation, really, really important. And you cannot assume causal link or necessarily that one factor causes the other. And I hope that's clear. There'll be examples in the description box down below, so you can go check that out. And yeah, guys, you can probably tell I am wearing something by the name of a Mat. I'm not sure if you know what that is. It's not a skirt before someone mentions it, and that's not what we do. So I'm a Yemeni, Somali, and this is just to grab your attention, making sure that you're paying attention. And if you are, you're enjoying it. Now, the one thing I'm going to mention is that there are extra tips that I do have, and it's going to be in the ebook down below. I'm not going to be charging like £10, £9, £8, £7, £6, £5, £4. It's going to be like £3. So if you guys want to go get it, lots of people did get the Ucat ebook. 600 people plus. Now, moving on to the approach section behind section 1. Basically, the approach section behind section 1. I just repeated the same thing. So the advice that I give, which is basically the master tip behind section 1, is to do questions in blocks. And now the question paper will have a separation between maths questions, and then there will be like some verbal reasoning one, and then maths questions, verbal reasoning, and then spatial awareness. The major, anything that you take away, this is the tip that you need to secure, is that you do the categories of questions together. Reason being is that you'll be in that framework, that mindset of tackling that sort of question. So you'll go in straight for the assumption questions inside that, and you'll be able to answer all of them within a space of like 15 minutes. Then you'll move on to the data analysis questions, and then you'll move on to the maths syllogisms questions. But you need to know that you do all of the assumption questions first, then all of the data analysis questions next, then all of the maths questions next. Reason being is that you'll be able to save so much time, and that time it takes for mentally transitioning between a passage to a hard maths question. A passage to a hard maths question will be reduced, so you'll be in that mindset. Trust me, it works. Practice it, then message. Don't message and then say, it's not working, and you tried it once. Now, I know when you first begin, you're probably saying, I need proper explanations behind the questions. I'm not getting them right. There are official, I believe, 2 years worth of Bmat papers that are explained by Cambridge exam board itself. Don't mark my words, but I think it's 2014. So it's really, really important that you go check that out. And the more papers you do, you realize that there is an actual approach behind the questions. So your score will, it will do these ones. Now, simply jumping into the tips that actually do help a person. Now, when it comes to the maths questions, it's really, really important that you start estimation. Estimation is going to be your best friend. There's going to be a few tips that you need to know as well that I'm going to mention a little bit later on. But as with everything, elimination to find the right answer is of the utmost importance. Now, you probably already know that, like it says here, multiple choice exam, Actually, where does it say that? Basically, elimination of the apparently wrong answer. There'll be I think like a natural inclination. Actually, that's like a misnomer, no? There'll be like some natural distancing away from questions that doesn't seem to be 100% correct. And with maths questions, fractions, decimals, percentages, really, really important that you actually do practice. And in the exam, I don't think they allow you to bring a stopwatch, so please bear that in mind and basically practice knowing when the checkpoints are, when the exam has reached halfway, quarter, and like 3/4. Please don't take out your cocaine. Don't take out your calculator. Reason being is that you're not going to be able to use that in the real exam. So maths questions, essentially use algebra if you can, and estimation where necessary. You won't be able to use a calculator. Just repeat it. And for some people that actually do practice with it, ain't gonna help you, so don't. And for the third tip behind the approach behind section 1 is periodization. As you can tell, I don't give generic tips because you can find them on other videos. Periodization and conditioning, the way that I like to explain it is that you have 1 hour to do section 1, but you're not going to take 1 hour. You're going to take 55 minutes. You're going to try to answer as much as you can in 55 minutes as if it was the real exam. By doing so, you'll be under increased time pressure, which yes, you might perform like bad at first, but you'll get better and you adjust to that time frame. Now when you get to the real exam, you have an extra 5 minutes. Now my mention of periodization is that once you've done like 6 section 1s together and you've practiced section 2 and section 3, you begin joining section 1 and section 2 together. Then for example, section 2 and section 3. Then section 1 and section 2 and section 3. But you adjust it so that you're still optimal, or you haven't peaked essentially. And as your exam starts nearing in, you're making sure that you're doing all 3 sections in one sitting. Now what I would advise is that in 2018 and 2019 that you take as complete mocks, so you practice them in exam condition, not necessarily with the television on. Trust me, I get the maddest messages, so I don't want to bait anyone out, but you might have messaged me with these sort of, yeah. Now some key tips to know. 28 days, every month has 28 days. Certain months have 30, certain months have 31. Make sure you know that. Characters, 0 to 9 is actually 10 characters. Understand that. Now summarizing the video, Medic Mind does have a playlist that you can check out. It is really good when it comes to the pin code questions. Don't purchase the course. I'm not even sure how much the course is, 100 something quid. You don't need it. The best thing for you, trust me, is that you might not even finish the official papers, and the official papers are the best thing. There's nothing that's going to get better than that. Ensure that you do them first, and like I say, spatial reasoning, cube question. Now hopefully there'll be a section 2 video that you can check out, and that'll be at the end of this video, and it might only be there once I actually record it. I haven't recorded it yet, or when I post it, so maybe 1 week or 3 days after this video it'll come out. And I hope everyone's Gucci. If you need anything, guys, do message me. I don't even want to show my trim. So guys, just to summarize, if you enjoyed the video, there are a ton of playlists that show you where to strategically apply, and it's going to be at the end of the video. On top of that, there's going to be a Q&A. There is a Q&A playlist that explains a ton of medic related questions to the application process, the interview process, and with no further ado, peace. Oh yeah, man, that's a madness still. I'm not gonna lie to you, that's still madness. I can't believe I'm actually doing YouTube though still. You know? It's actually shambles. I need a studio, guys. I need a studio. Nonetheless, I'm not sure if I'm gonna use this as a blooper still.